Hello, criminal justice enthusiasts, and welcome back to JudgeSim. In this episode, we are going to do 3 more of the cases here in the I Am the Law section. So let's see what we have first. Compensation lawsuit filed with the request to shut down the game. Redlox, John Dice. In this case, the Redlox brand is represented by lawyer Paul Soule. Recently, when his 9-year-old son came to him and asked, "What does sex mean?" John Dice started to investigate where his son could have learned this. John Dice, a parent who watches the games he plays, banned his son from the game after seeing messages in the game Redlox. John Dice, who documented the messages he saw by taking photos as evidence, filed a lawsuit against Redlox. So this is about Roblox. John, who filed the lawsuit against the brand for damages concerning the trauma his son may experience, also demands that the game be banned. My son had been playing this game for about 5 months. After his question that day, I started watching the games he played. While he was playing the game Redlox, I saw those disgusting words and recorded them on my phone. Although these games are designed for children to have fun, they are full of perverted adults rather than children, and they try to use children for their disgusting purpose. These games need to be banned urgently. Alright, so we're going to get into a hot button issue here. Messages in the game chat recorded by John Dice. Who wants to have sex? What is sex? Add me and I can teach you. Alright. Who wants free Redux? I also want to. Hey, send it to me. Okay, just have to add me as a friend and pretend to be my girlfriend. Oh, there's more. My mistake. Game mode that may be inappropriate for children to use inside Redlox. Redlox Sex Simulator. It's been found out that there's age limit to access these modes. Okay, so you had to be 18 plus for that. What is your company's defense regarding these accusations? Your Honor, all parents should take responsibility for what their children do. There is no specific age restriction to play our game. We only pose an age limit of 13 plus or 17 plus to play some exclusive content. If the incident in question has also occurred in the modes where these content can be played, unfortunately, it is seen that the child does not meet the age limit. If the incident in question had also occurred in the mode where these contents can be played, unfortunately. Alright, so he had already said that. Sometimes it seems to repeat these things. So you're saying that such messages can come to children 13 and older? No, of course, Your Honor. What I'm trying to say is that we don't have a way of knowing who is a member and for what purpose. We try to control as much as possible and evaluate the complaints received. However, we think that families should be equally conscious and should not leave their children alone while playing. What are your thoughts on this? The defense is almost as disgusting as what I saw in the game. How can a company that knows most of its players are children speak so freely about this? This defense is almost as obnoxious as anything I've seen in the game. Alright, so they changed the wording there, but it's still the same thing. Are you not upset at all about what the pedophile people in your game can teach children and how they can stain their minds? I'm sure hundreds of children are traumatized every day because of your brand's irresponsibility. Do you want to make a defense on this issue? Such baseless allegations are only meant to damage our brand. On the contrary, we are a company that receives thank you messages from hundreds of families every day. In these messages, they say that their children have started to succeed in their lessons thanks to our game and that they behave much more calmly. Such unfounded allegations are only intended to damage... Alright. Don't know why this case has these messages repeating. And they behave much more calmly. Then they add more to it. In addition, as a parent, you have a higher responsibility to your children than our company. I'm sorry, but it's your fault for putting a tablet in your child's hand and not following up. Alright, so this is going to get controversial here. I am sure, but I know my decision already. I decide will not receive any penalties and will remain playable. Do the trauma cause? Alright. So, this is my decision. And I have no idea about Roblox. I've never played the game myself. I do know it's sort of a children's video game of some type. I mean, definitely I play video games, there's no question on that with my channel. But I haven't played this particular video game. I also, probably to many people's shock, anger, dismay, whatever, have not played Minecraft either. And I know I get a lot of flack from that, even from people in my own life. So I really can't speak on Roblox specifically, but my understanding of it would be that it is an online game that is a massive multiplayer online game, an MMO. So with that, you are going to have interactions with other people. That's sort of just part of the base game as it is. The point that I am making with that is this. By playing the game, you accept that that's the reality. It's the same sort of thing as when I used to play Dead by Daylight quite heavily. There are toxic people in Dead by Daylight, without a question. People say some very, very nasty things at points in time in Dead by Daylight. It comes somewhat with the territory of it being a multiplayer game where you are going to interact with people you don't know. Not everybody in the world is going to be a good person. That is sadly just the reality. The thing is, if you have chosen to allow your child to play a game where they are interacting with a ton of people, that is your choice. I do not think it is right for the game to say that this game is only allowed to be played by people under a certain age. I mean, if they wanted to, a game can definitely put in content that is specifically for people over a certain age, such as sexual content and such. But in this case, the game seems to have done that. It has a 18 plus section and whatnot. I don't know if that's true for the actual Roblox or not. As I said, never really played it. But if you agree to play a game, or if you agree to allow your child to play a game, that is your responsibility. I have worked at stores before. I worked in an electronics department of a store before where I sold video games, and I definitely know there were times where I sold video games to parents, and those parents basically had just come in and said, that's the game my kid wants. And I did a few times say, this game has a mature rating to it. And the parent pretty much got upset with me for bringing up the fact that the game had a mature rating to it. They just wanted to buy the game, they didn't really care. Now these are the same type of parents that would probably then turn around and then complain about the fact of why was their child exposed to such adult content. That's my issue. It's a parent's responsibility. What your child sees and such is up to you. If you choose to allow your child to play a video game, then you are the one deciding that what might happen in that video game is okay. That means if it's a single player game, you're responsible, but it also means if you choose to allow them to play a multiplayer game online, you're also responsible. As I said, I'm sure there are a lot of people out there who will disagree with me, and I understand where you might be coming from, just like I do understand this parent being upset in this particular case. But the fact of the matter is, I don't think that we should censor every company and such and restrict things to suck the fun out of it for everyone because of a certain situation like this. Yeah, these kind of things can happen in an online space. It is sad that they can happen in those spaces. But as a parent, you need to be in charge of what goes on with your child. If you're going to allow your young child online, then you should be there with them. And yeah, I mean, I sort of feel that's what I have to say on the case. As I said, probably going to get some flack for it, but that is my position. I do find that interesting with these judge games. You're probably learning much more about me and probably not liking some of my stances on things. But I'm going to be honest and I'm going to rule in the way that I feel is correct. So we got one guy sitting at the desk here and we got 4 setups here. Don't know what's going on here. Stu Xavier sues Casper Emmerich for arrearing rent from Casper Emmerich, whom he claims is his tenant. Complained about his tenant living on the ground floor of his 2-story house. Stu stated that his tenant delayed the rent day by a week. Stu, who wanted to get rid of his tenant, called the police and asked for their help. The police came to the house owned by Stu, but when they knocked the door, no one answered. Police searched identity did not reveal a person named Casper Emmerich. Stu, who cited the lease agreement as proof, did not believe the results of the ID screening conducted by the police. After Stu wanted to take the matter to court and sued a person named Casper Emmerich who claimed it was a tenant. He came to me 1 month ago to rent my house. He had a crystal white face. It was almost like shining. He asked me to rent the downstairs to him. He signed a lease and I gave him the key to my house. During that month he used the house, he made almost no sound. Lights of the house, it was constantly burning. From time to time, I would see him and greet him. We had coffee at his house once. The police tried to pass me off by arguing there is no such person, but I do not accept this. I'm wondering what the crystal white face, if this is like a Twilight reference. If so, another one that's probably going to be controversial. I never watched Twilight. Sorry. I tried one time, but the writing really was bad as far as I was concerned. And I just couldn't do it. Coffee cups that the police found on the table when they broke down the door and entered the house. There are coffee residues in the cups. Agreement of renting. Okay. Why isn't your tenant Casper here? What do you mean he is not here? He's sitting right in front of you. Ah, so he's a ghost. How so? Is your tenant here now? Yes, right in front of you, as I said. Are you kidding me? Alright, in your testimony you said that you had coffee with Casper. Casper the friendly ghost, then I'm guessing? When exactly did this happen? It was exactly 2 weeks before the rental day. I thought we got along very well. At first I thought he had forgotten to pay the rent, but after a week had passed, I realized he was using my good intentions. I'll take what I'm entitled to. No one can use my goodwill. Right. Let's ask Mr. Casper a few questions. Mr. Casper, may I know why you are delinquent on your rent? Okay, what nonsense are you talking? You're going to pay my rent. What did he say? He's been in a different universe for a long time. He's going to pay his rent as soon as possible. I don't understand how he can make fun of it in such a serious environment. Alright, what universe were you in, Mr. Casper? Siberia. What is that place? I couldn't quite hear it. What did he say? He's trapped in a universe called Siberia. The cybernetic systems in that universe did not allow it to pass because it could not identify itself, but it did not seem very convincing to me. Got it. Thank you for helping. Yeah, we're gonna go with it was decided that Tuesday everyone would be admitted to at a mental hospital because he is nuts. I would have otherwise gone with order to pay his rent as soon as possible because he doesn't exist, so it doesn't really matter. But since I have the option of mental hospital, yeah, let's put him in the funny farm. And our last case for this day, or this week. No criminal record. Charge murder, abusing of power. Oh, wow. All right. You might have been a naughty boy there, Mr. Garrick Bovin. George Blade was stopped by the police while driving his car. The police officer, Garrick Bovin, who wanted to take a look at the license and the permit of George, asked him to leave the car after some time. Both Bovin laid George face down. A little bit of issue with the wording here. On the ground and pressed his knee on George's neck for a while. Oh, this is going to be the Derek Chauvin case. Alright. George, who stated that he could not breathe many times during this time, did not get any response he expected. After a while, he was taken to the hospital thinking he had fainted. Despite the interventions made in the hospital where he was taken, he could not be saved. A person named Sabrina Glory, who was at the scene, said that she was following the incident closely, was called to testify as a witness. I followed the event from beginning to end. Poor guy, I'm so sorry for him, but I couldn't do anything. I begged the police officer to let him go, but he was pressing his knee on his neck so hard that I even gasped. Besides, he didn't give me any difficulties at all. He calmly did what the police told him. That police officer should be punished for his actions. I'm a police officer. I received a report instructing me to pull over George's vehicle, so I did. I asked him to step out of the car, but he resisted. I told him there was no need for that, but he continued to be uncooperative for an extended period. As a result, I forcibly removed him from the vehicle. I asked him to stay calm, but he was fidgeting and pulling at me. Eventually, I took him to the ground and pressed my knee on his back to restrain him. I thought I was applying pressure to his back, but I accidentally applied it to his neck. I didn't realize he was struggling to breathe until I noticed he had stopped moving after a while. I then called for an ambulance and accompanied him to the hospital. My intention was not to harm him. Photo of the situation taken by the bystanders. Autopsy report. The person died after being out of breath for a long time. The cause of breathlessness can be described as pressure on the neck. Alright, well, this doesn't exactly cover the case of Derek Chauvin correctly. I did follow this case when it was happening, and it's missing a few key details here. It basically makes George Floyd look like he was completely innocent. George Floyd had been arrested. It wasn't that he was pulled out of his car. He was being arrested for a criminal offense that he had, and he was resisting arrest, as was shown in the videotapes at the time. On top of that, another piece, I think, of significant information in a particular event is that he had drugs in his system which were never fully determined if they affected his death or not. Now, I don't have that in this case, so I will decide this case based on the evidence I have, but I did just want to bring those things up because, yeah, my decision will be based on the evidence I have in this case, not on what happened in the real world. My decision might have been different in the real world if I had seen all the evidence of the particular case. I'm not saying it would have, but I would have definitely cared to hear those other details that this case doesn't have. Why did you treat George the way when you knew he was innocent? I was told that I had to stop the vehicle. Besides, how was I to know he was innocent? And as I said, now this is a different situation here because he is supposedly innocent in this case, and George Floyd was not innocent. Would you treat every person whose vehicle you stop in this way if you sense a suspicious situation? I had to because it gave me a hard time. I've never given anyone this kind of treatment before. Even though I told him to stay calm, he gave me a hard time. According to the eyewitness at the scene, George did not cause you any difficulty. What do you say about it? No one was around at the time of the incident. They might came later. Also, George insisted too hard not to get out of the car. They may not have seen this part. Yeah, I mean, in this particular situation, all the evidence we have points to him being guilty. So I am going to find him guilty. Now, I don't think it was intentional homicide. I don't think it was first-degree murder per se. So I'm going to go ahead and do 25 years here. I think that's a fair sentence for the evidence that was presented in front of me. If it was first-degree murder, then a life sentence would be appropriate. But I don't think this was malicious with the evidence that was presented in this fictional version of the case. He was told to stop the car. That's agreed upon. He says that the guy was resisting. We don't have proof of that one way or the other because we have a witness that says he wasn't. We have him saying he was. We don't have the deceased there to tell us his side of the story, so we have to go with just what we have. And he does admit that he did kill him in this case. So that's why I'm going to go with sort of a probably, I would say this is more of a murder too, and I'm going to go with 25 years is appropriate here. Judge punishes racist policeman. Now, the race didn't even come up in the case, so I sort of hate that they did that here in this. But it is what it is. All right. And with that, I will go ahead and end this episode. If you enjoyed what I did in the episode, please go ahead and click that like button. If you've not already, please subscribe to the channel, click the bell icon, so that you're aware when I produce new videos in the future. Thank you, and I hope to see you all back for more of JudgeSim.